All right, please bow your heads. Please bow your heads. We're going to pray. The Lord knows we need it. Yeah, we'll talk about cornrows later, Cameron. Lord, we just invite you to be part of this time. Please speak to us, calm our hearts, focus us in, God. And this is a message that's hard for everyone to hear. But I pray that we would accept it, that it would lead to a life and purpose and joy in our lives. I thank you for your word, how much it means to us. Thank you that we can speak your word and it changes lives in every generation. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, by the way, we let you guys eat food and drink during the lesson. Please don't make me regret that and change that rule. Real quiet. No. I'm not as concerned about messes, kind of a little bit. I'm more concerned about noise because I get easily distracted. I'll lose my train of thought. I don't even have notes tonight, so that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. All right, we're starting a new series called Real Love, and I hope that you're taking notes. Most of you are taking notes at winter camp, so I know you're good at taking notes. Some of you told me you only take notes on a pretty journal. So get a pretty journal. Get a pretty journal.
Free pens.
I have tons of free pens, actually. I can give you free pens. Keep those excuses coming. Especially any visual learners here. Any visual learners, you learn best from seeing. If you're a visual learner, you need to take notes because you'll hear me, you'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you'll write it down and be like, oh, that's it. And then you'll draw a picture and you'll be like, that's a cool picture. Okay? We're in a series called Real Love, and I want you to write this down on the top of your notes that you're all taking. Write this phrase down. Real love keeps us safe from... Real love keeps us safe from... We'll get to it later, okay? Real love keeps us safe from. So, what are some things that you guys love? Raise your hand. What are some things you love? Popcorn? Yeah? What? Kittens. Anybody else love kittens? Any puppy people here? Puppies or kittens? We need more reasons to divide ourselves, so let's have... Yeah. Paul! He's not here. What a scrub. Yeah? He was going to say Paul too. What else do you love? What else do you love? I know. It's a cult. Nature. Anybody else love nature? We have so much nature in Bend. It's enough to give you a headache. Yeah. Legos! Not just for kids anymore, folks. Yeah. What? Money? I heard a comedian say, money can't buy you happiness, but buy you a jet ski. You ever see someone sad on a jet ski? Yeah? Star Wars? Love Star Wars? Twilight? For some reason? Yeah? Driving a boat? You guys are like super on the shallow stuff tonight. I just want to point that out. Yeah? Jesus, thank you. This is church, people. Did you just say women? And then you got hit by your girlfriend. I second that hit. All right, listen up, guys. Shh. When Jesus was asked what is the most important thing to do with your lives, he said that we need to love God and love people. That's the most important thing. And I would say that most people in America would agree with some version of that phrase. Even atheists would say that we need to build our lives on love, that love is very important, all you need is love, so on and so forth. But here's the thing. It's really important that we understand what love really is, especially if it's something we're going to build our lives on. So in 2003, I was at Multnomah University. I was living in the dorms, and I had a roommate that was a tall, skinny guy. He had a great metabolism, super jealous. And But he was also kind of insecure about his body, so whenever he ate junk food, he would do this kind of workout thing that he thought was a workout. He had what was called an ab roller. I don't know if you know what an ab roller is. It's like a device. It's a device that has like a metal bar and a pillow by your head, and it helps you do, crunches in a good form. So this is what my roommate, Ryan, would do. He would eat a piece of chocolate cake, and then on the floor of our dorm room, he would do one of these. Just like that, all neck, nothing but neck. And I'm watching this, and I'm going, that's not a workout. I'm like, what are you doing, Ryan? He's like, I'm working out, man. I ate a bunch of cake. I got to work it off. I'm like, you're not working off any cake. You might have the strongest neck in the school, but that's about it. Now think about this for a minute, though. If you heard about all the benefits of working out, right? Working out will help you get healthy, it'll help you look better, it'll lower stress, it'll help you live longer. You thought all these important things were connected to working out, but what you're doing is that there's going to be a lot of disillusion because it doesn't work. It's got to be the real thing. And how much greater is love going to be harmful if we get the wrong picture of what love really is? I mean, I believe that love is such a powerful force to bring joy to your life and to bring purpose to your life. It's a game changer. It changes everything, but only if it's real. Only if it's real. So I've just been thinking about this for you guys in the series that we're going to go into is what does it look like to explore real love and apply real love in our lives. So I want to start out by telling you a story. So just use your imagination for a minute and picture a farmhouse, right? Farmhouse in Eastern Oregon, out in the wilderness. It's outside of town a little ways, and it's a sleepy little house in a field, and at 2 a.m., the phone rings. It's not good when the phone rings at 2 a.m. And Mom rolls over in her bed, and she's about half awake, and she picks up the phone. She answers it, and the police are on the other line. Something's happened to their daughter. And so she immediately has this kind of rush, and she wakes up fully, and she starts hitting Dad, and like, you need to get up, there's something going on. And their daughter, who's a junior in high school at the time, had been rushed to the hospital, and the police said it looks like she had an overdose of heroin. That's what it appears to us. And they're totally taken off guard because they had no idea that their daughter was ever into drugs or experimented with drugs or had any issue with drug at all. In fact, they thought she was at a sporting event with her school team this weekend. She lied about the whole thing. She went camping so that they could do drugs together. Her parents had no idea. They trusted her. They had no idea that when she was 13 years old, she went to a friend's house, and the friend thought it would be a good idea to go to their parents' medicine cabinet and just grab some random medicines and try it out, see if they could get high. First time she was introduced to pills. Now, these are not drugs. America doesn't allow drug companies to make them those bright colors. These are mints. They kind of look like pills. It's going to get worse. And here's the thing, though. When I think about sin in my life, it's a lot like pills, right? It's a lot like going to a medicine cabinet and trying different pills. Because throughout my whole life, when I look back on it, you think things like, oh, that one looks nice, let me try that one. Or that one looks kind of fun, let me try that one. Or that I'm kind of drawn to that one. Maybe I'll give that one a try. But the difference between sin and pills is that if you go to your parents' medicine cabinet, there are some pills that won't hurt you. Your ibuprofen and your Benadryls, and there's some that will. With sin, everything will hurt you. Everything is dangerous. Everything. It doesn't matter what you try, it'll put you on a path that leads to danger. And me. So the hospital is about an hour and a quarter away. Mom and Dad get their clothes on, they jump in the car, and they're just trying to focus on the road while they're driving to the hospital, but they're wrestling with all these questions. What could have happened? Who could have done this with her or given her these things? Or what is going on? And how do we love her? How we love her. I've been reading in my devotionals in Proverbs, and in the morning, I wake up every morning and I grab my Bible. I want to grab my phone, but I make myself grab my Bible, and I never regret it. But it's cool because sometimes my 6-year-old Hudson will come jump in bed with me, and he'll grab his little devotional, and we'll do our devotionals together. And I've been reading through Proverbs. There's just something about, getting some of God's word just first thing before I even brush my teeth. Bible doesn't care about my dragon breath. And Proverbs is written by older, wiser people, people in leadership, people with lots of life experience, and they're writing to young people to warn them, to guide them, to give them wisdom, or also parents writing to their kids. And Proverbs had a lot of like 2 or 3 or 4 liners, like kind of phrases you would put on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker or tweet out that are just powerful, amazing phrases that people have learned from for generations. But there's this weird thing that happens in Proverbs over and over and over again, is that you have all these little phrases of wisdom, and then they go into these long warnings against adultery, specifically adultery. It happens like 3 times in the first half of the book. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, it's so weird. Why would they do that? Like, do. And by the way, now, if you imagine older, wiser people warning you about adultery, some of the warnings you would expect them to have would be things like, it's going to cause heartache. It's going to ruin families. It's going to lead to all kinds of drama, right? Drama. It might cause divorce. It might hurt your children. But they don't list any of those things as the dangers of adultery. What they list as the dangers of adultery is violence. Don't get into adultery because you will suffer violence. Check out this passage in Proverbs chapter 6. Can a man scoop a flame into his lap and not have his clothes catch on fire? Can he walk on hot coals and not blister his feet? So it is with the man who sleeps with another man's wife, or woman, by the way. He who embraces her will not go unpunished. Anybody watch Forged in Fire, the document? Hudson and I love that show. Like, he doesn't build Lego knives now. He forges Lego knives. And in Forged in Fire, they put metal in a furnace, and it comes out, and it's like red hot, lava hot. And that's the idea in this passage. If you put a rock in a furnace and pull it out, it's red hot, lava hot. What happens if you put it in your lap? It's going to burn. It's going to hurt. You cannot take a lava rock, put it in your lap, and not be hurt. That's the warning. You cannot get into adultery and not be hurt. So check out this next passage. The man who commits adultery is an utter fool, for he destroys himself. He'll be wounded and disgraced. There's that wounded again. His shame will never be erased, for a woman's jealous husband will be furious and will show no mercy when he takes revenge. If you commit adultery, there will be somebody out there, a spouse, who wants to kill you or at least hurt you really bad. Any of you imagine like marrying someone someday, and if they cheat on you? I can see it. There it is, like right in your faces. Oh, kill them. It's violence. It's violence. And by the way, there's tons of sin that's like this. If we get into anything that causes us to get arrested, police officers are not particularly gentle if you do something really rough, especially if you try to run away from them. I'm not even going to mention the kind of stuff that happens in prison. I've actually broken up fights at youth group because some guy was flirting with the wrong girl, kind of like a high school version of adultery, and he got jumped right outside of church. That was pretty awesome. Praise God, holding the kid in a headlock for 10 minutes. When I was doing youth ministry in Detroit about 2009, there's this family there, and they're longtime members of the church. They're really foundational to the church. As like grandparents went to the church, parents went to the church, and their son, whose name was Trevor, was in the youth group. He was a junior. This is like one of those really strict families, right? Really strict. None of you know what that's like. None of you know. This is a super strict family. And one day, the mom calls me up, and this is what she says. She says, you need to come to my house now. Trevor sent naked pictures of himself to girls at school, and I'm going to kill him. And I thought, I believe you. I'll be right over. So I left and drove to his house. He's sitting on the couch. Now, Trevor's about a foot taller than his mom, and he is sitting on the couch just terrified, like almost sweating. Ah. So I sit on the couch next to Trevor, and I'm like, oh, man, you've done it now. And I'm trying to we should pray or something, and we're just watching Mom pace back and forth. Like, Dad, can you put away the kitchen knives, please? Fortunately, she didn't hurt him that I know of. But sin is dangerous. It leads to violence. Sin leads to violence. It's a road to violence. In Romans 3:23, it says this. It says, the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus our Lord. And what he's saying is that everything that the Bible says is sin, is wrong, puts us on a path to death. And by the way, it doesn't matter if we can't figure out why it leads to destruction. If the Bible tells us not to do something and it doesn't make sense as to why it's telling us not to do it, it doesn't matter. It's taking God's word for it, that if you go down this path, it's going to lead to destruction, even if you don't see it clearly right now. So Mom and Dad are driving to the hospital, and they're talking. They've got all these emotions swelling up inside of them. And Dad is like, if I'm honest, I just want to walk in the hotel room, and I want to yell, and I want to tell her, what were you thinking? How could you be so stupid? Like, what have you done to yourself? You could have killed yourself. And Mom's like, I just want to hold her right now. Like, I'm so scared, and I want to tell her she's forgiven. I want to hold her in my arms. And what answer is real love? And here's the thing. It's not obvious. It's not obvious. So Jesus is the most influential, the most important figure in human history. Even non-Christians agree with that. He's on the top of every list of most influential people. And one of the reasons why he had such a powerful impact and legacy on the world is because of how he loved people. And so when we talk about real love, we constantly have to come back to Jesus. And not just his teaching about what real love is, but the stories of how he expressed real love to people around him. So back on the theme of adultery, there was a time when Jesus was going about his ministry, and these Pharisees or religious leaders brought a woman before him that was caught in adultery. And according to the law of Moses, the law that the people lived under, she was supposed to be stoned to death. These are the kind of stones that you would use to stone someone to death, about this big or bigger. And the Pharisees brought this woman before, and here's the thing about the law of Moses, is that it was really hard to convict someone of adultery because you actually had to be caught in the act by witnesses. A rumor wasn't enough. Some, yucky feeling in your spouse that something was going on wasn't enough. You could even be caught laying in bed next to someone, and that wasn't enough. You had to be caught in the act, and so apparently this woman was. But the Pharisees aren't interested in justice, and the reason we know that is because where's the man? Right? The man's just as guilty as the woman is. They don't bring the man around. They bring this woman to try to trap Jesus. And what is he supposed to do? Because he's claiming to be the Son of God. He's claiming to represent God. And so he can't break God's law. But he's starting this movement of kindness and compassion and love for people who are broken and suffering and messed up in their lives. And so if he doesn't show compassion to this woman, then all these people are going to turn on him. So what does he do? He kneels down and writes in the dirt. I mean, it's crazy. It's like the crowds are freaking out. The woman's probably crying, terrified. The religious leaders got their arms crossed, waiting for an answer. And Jesus has the confidence and the peace in his soul to sit down and start drawing in the dirt. And it doesn't say what he drew. I mean, you can hear sermons and pastors and scholars and different people give ideas or thoughts, but it doesn't say. The reality is we don't really know. What we do know is that he was so confident that he could sit down and draw. And then when he was ready, he gave an answer. All right, whoever is without sin, go ahead and stone her. Whoever is without sin, go ahead and stone her. And this is what happened in John 8. It says this. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest. Isn't that interesting? Peace, I'm out. Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. Jesus says, "Well, neither do I. Go and sin no more." You know what's so fascinating about this? He's without sin. The Bible makes it clear that Jesus never sinned. So he's the only one who has the right to throw a stone. And he doesn't. He doesn't condemn her. He doesn't judge her. He saves her from condemnation. But he doesn't end there either. Because he knows how dangerous adultery is. And so he says, go, stop sinning. Get out of this thing. Get out of it. Real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us the dangers of sin. Write that down. Real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us of the dangers of sin. Now, oftentimes, you'll see one or the other expressed as love in our culture. So the really popular one is the first part, right? No condemnation, no judgment. You just go through life, whatever, they could do whatever, you don't understand them, you don't know their experience, and so we don't point fingers, we don't judge anybody. But just think about that for a minute. Like, imagine as a father when Hudson, my son, was just beginning to crawl, and you're super excited. Your kid's moving, right? You're like, oh, it's so cool, like, move your arms, move your legs. And do they go to the pillow and the couch and the stuffed animal in the house? No. He goes right to anything that's sharp, anything that's hard, anything that has electricity flowing through it. That's what he wants to play with. That's what he wants to bite on with his new little teeth. It's all he wants to do. And so if he gets a hold of a butter knife, I mean, he never obviously did this, of course. If he gets a hold of a butter knife and in his little toddler brain says, this looks like it fits in that socket on the wall, and he goes over to give it a try, if I'm like, hey, no judgment, you gotta have your own experiences, right? I don't understand what it's like to be a child in this home, so I can't pass judgment on you. You're doing your own thing. You'd be like, that's a terrible father. That's not loving at all. Because real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us of the dangers of sin. And the flip side is true, because some people going around, they just take it on themselves. Like, I was created to go around and point out everybody's faults. You're wrong, 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 you're wrong. You don't know anyone like this, right? Nobody knows anyone like this. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And can I just say a side note for a minute? You may not know this, but churches sometimes have people like this. And listen, I am really sorry if you have suffered from some kind of pain or heartache at the hands of a person like this, that had no interest in loving you or having a relationship with you, but just wanted to point out all your faults. As a pastor of the church, I want to say that we're sorry. We're sorry that happened. But there's people that skip over the whole no condemnation thing and just go right to pointing out all the sins. And that's not real love either. Real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us of the dangers of sin. So mom and dad get to the hospital. They're in the parking lot. It's about 3:30 a.m. at this point. Sun hasn't come out yet, and it's not raining outside, but they run to the doors as if it is. And they check in, they find out where their daughter's room is, and they go up, and she's still unconscious, and mom just goes by her bed and grabs her hand, just starts crying, and dad sits in the chair next to him, and he's got his head in his hands. He's praying that she'll be safe and she'll come to, and they just sit there with her until both of them fall asleep in her room. And then the next morning, she wakes up. Thank goodness she wakes up. And as soon as she sees them and kind of gets her focus back, she just starts bawling. She's just like, I'm so sorry. What have I done? I'm so sorry. How could this happen? And over and over and over again. And her dad comes over to her bed and says, honey, we just want you to know that we love you. We're here for you. We're so glad you're safe. And mom agrees and said, we almost lost you, and I could not imagine life without you. We just love you so much. And they just cry with her and sit with her. And then a couple hours later, as she begins to eat a little bit and recover a little bit, mom says, listen, we don't have to talk about this now. We want to give you plenty of space to get better. But we need to have a conversation about what to do with this drug thing. And we want you to know that we're going to be there with you, supporting you, doing whatever we can, but we have to insist that you deal with this drug problem in your life. And so in the next few days, when you're ready, we'd like to talk about it. Now, here's the thing. She may say, you're absolutely right. I've learned my lesson. I was stupid. I'm ready. Or she might say, you're overreacting. It was an accident. Leave me alone. I live my own life. I make my own decisions. But it doesn't matter how she responds. They are still loving her with real love. You see that? Real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us of the dangers of sin. Not one or the other. So how do we apply this? What do we do about it in our own friendships, our own relationships? And I just want to give you a few quick points, and then we'll be done, and we'll pray and we'll close. First of all, when you're developing relationships and friendships with people, start with no condemnation, right? Start with embracing people where they're at, showing people that you love them, showing them kindness. You might have a situation where, someone's outside, like, swinging nunchucks blindfolded, and you know that it's about to go bad really fast, and you just need to step in and duct tape their hands together or something. I don't know. You just need to do something, right? But in most cases, it starts with friendship, right? That's the first step. Being careful, being cautious that you don't fall into whatever the thing is that they're involved in. That you don't get sucked into it too, because that happens a lot. You need to be aware of that and have wisdom about it. If you come to a place where somebody in your life is beginning to step down a path of sin and destruction, think about this. Talk to them as if they were 25. Now, here's what I mean by this. I've been in youth ministry for a long time, 22 years. And I've had many times where I had total knuckleheads in the youth group that goofed off for 4 years. They were impossible to talk to. I thought they were never listening, goofing off all the time, always falling off of stuff and running into stuff and throwing stuff, hitting people in the head. And then they're 25 and they'll give me a call and they'll be like, I just appreciate everything you taught me so much, and it just meant the world to me, and it was so wise. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You never listen to me. I don't do that. I play it cool. But the point is that someday, usually right around mid-20s, somebody sees all that advice differently. So you're talking to a 16-year-old. Say something that they will appreciate when they're 25, even if they don't appreciate it as a 16-year-old. Say the type of thing that they might get mad at you, they might reject you, but when they're 25, they might come back and be like, that was really good advice. Thanks for saying that. Does that make sense? Finally, all of us, including me, will need to be warned. I hate preaching stuff like this because I have sin in my life too. I don't feel like I'm worthy to be up here talking about this kind of stuff. Fortunately, the Bible can do the talking for me. But we will all have times where we need to be warned about sin in our lives. And so hopefully, when that happens, and hopefully if God has blessed you with good enough friends to love you like that, you'll hear it with maturity, like an adult. You won't have to wait till you're 25 and screw a bunch of stuff up with your life before you listen. With maturity, like an adult. Real love keeps us safe from condemnation and warns us of the dangers of sin. Bow your heads with me. I want you to picture in your mind somebody in your life that you are worried about because they're on a dangerous path. And maybe they're early in that path. Maybe it's drugs or sex or alcohol or whatever it is. Stealing, gambling. Maybe they're down the road on that path. It's really starting to get a hold of their life. But wherever they're at, I want you to get them in your heads and just take a minute to pray for them. Take a minute to pray for opportunities to love them. Pray for God's power to intervene and change their lives. And maybe for some of you, that person is you. I know that there's a few people in this room that are down a path that's going to lead to harm. And if it's you, then just have the courage to say, God, help me, and have the courage to talk to an adult that you trust, even if you don't know how to get off the path. Ask for help. Or pray for that person that needs help. Pray that God would step in. I'm just going to give you a minute to do this, and then I'll pray and close, and we'll be done. God, I am so thankful that when we come before you, you drop the rock and you don't condemn us. God, that when we ask you for forgiveness, you forgive us and you cleanse us. I am so thankful for that. And God, you know every person that's being prayed for. You know their situation. You know their lives better than we do. We just pray that through your power and through your grace, you would step in and show these people how much you love them. And that you would rescue them, and that if you have a part for us to play, God, that we would have the courage to step into that, even if we're not worthy or we're not in a place where we feel like we can, that we could speak the words of love. Give us the words to say. I pray that this would be a place, a community of young people that would really deeply love each other. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.